Hey, this is Nick from Remedy667.com, the best place on the internet for horror theme fonts and typefaces. And today is Horror Font Friday. Let's make ourselves a little less red. Today we are looking at the lettering from the poster for the film The Horror of Frankenstein, which I believe is a Hammer film. The movie we've got running above is The Undead from 1957. You're probably more familiar with the poster than the film.
It'll take too long.
And we're going to get started on an alphabet and see how far we can get from there. All right. So I was debating whether or not I wanted to kind of remove some of these dots, and I think I might, because even in this early stages of it, it's going to cause this font to get these weird negative shapes that pop out that I then need to delete. So I think the best way to do it is copy that, go in here. We are going to trim and unite, and then paste in the front and pop that out. And that gives us a more solid version of the A. We can go in and we can make these scratches in it later. I don't know that I will, though. That'll all kind of depend on how we're feeling when we get there. So again, trim and unite. We only had to do that with the A character where we copied the part out of the middle because there's a middle. So with this one, I'm going to copy that center, and then I'm going to do the trim and unite on these. Pop that in the front and knock it out. We're going to trim that N. Beautiful. I watched a YouTube video, or maybe it was an Instagram video the other day, and it was about a way where you can, when you're zoomed in like this, you have a split screen so you can actually kind of see what you're doing with the letter at the same time. I feel like I've kind of messed around with stuff like that before in Photoshop, and my only real issue with it was that I still constantly am moving my artboard around. Let's ungroup those.
And the silence is deeper and deeper.
So here I'm just gonna grab the K, I think, and because of that I would just cut through, but I don't want my K to be cut away. My plan is to later on in the month go on a short vacation. Whoops. So my goal today is to try to do 2 different recordings so that I can record the second one, or release the second one the following week. Does that make sense? Instead of being like, oh no. I don't think I like this E. I think I like this E better. So let's cut that. The reason I like this E better is because it's more straight up. However, it is missing a big chunk right there. So, whoops, trim, unite. Let's cut that right there. And this is going to turn into this bit here. So basically just going to cut that right there. That becomes the top of my E. Now it's a little would be an understatement. This would be a good time for having the alternate version up on the right, just to kind of eye that up and make sure that I've got. See, it's still out too far. Needs to go in like all the way over there. That's crazy.
You've broken into the past. Yes. Yes, I have.
But that's apparently what was needed. On the eye though, this is just a little bit. I didn't want to have to redraw that entire part. I feel like it would have lost a lot of the integrity of the way it currently looks. So this is what we've got to work with. This is why Frankenstein is such a fun word to work with.
And other lives. Soon you will find one that I may visit.
Let's go ahead and lock our guides before I get myself in trouble. But yeah, like you have an S, you have an R, you have an E and an N, which kind of works for your H. You don't have an O. You do if you use the horror from the Horror of, but that's obviously a completely different piece of lettering. So we're gonna kind of get these squared away with our baseline. URS. I'm going to take this R and make it a P by starting a little lower. Whoops. There's a second mouse there. My hand bumped it and turned it into a...
Keep me from me.
Certainly not, hell hag. You have lost your powers as tomorrow you shall lose your head upon the chopping block.
Turned my line bad. So I just went up a little bit on there just to give it a little bit more variation from the R. I want to make an H from an N, and we'll use the K for the other side.
Help me.
Slide that in a tiny bit. Group, we're basically just making second eyes right now. Whoops.
Very well. No madness, Pedro. It's just that I have consulted with my sister's spirits. They find thee comely, as indeed so do I.
I want this kind of out of the spotlight. I don't want that side of the eye to resemble the right side of the eye. Alright, so now that I've got those, let's take this. Excellent. I thought I was just moving that middle piece. That'll actually come in just a tiny bit more, and that's going to become our H. And I'm using the F instead of the E because the way it comes out the back there I think it looks a little better.
She's running.
And that's going to be a good position for the crossbar. So we're establishing a rule. Looking at the F and the E, the F is very much right on the same level, if you want to call that the X height is very similar. Let's go ahead and make an L while we've got this. Whoops, I don't want that to go as far up. Delete. Let's zoom out a little bit. That is a really good looking L. All right, let's get into the C. I feel like is a good place to start. That'll kind of give us the first introduction to getting more into some of the round letters, like the D and the O, which we are nowhere near close to anything like that yet. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to cut there. I didn't really need to cut there because I'm cutting both of those, but this is would allegedly be like your curved part of your P. So I kind of want to use that shape as straight as it is to echo those broken parts of the S and build my C. Which feels a little left heavy at the moment. I think I want to rotate that over and bring it over a little bit and maybe rotate this side in. And granted, it makes the C a little shorter than I think I want, but it also balances it out a little bit better. So I think what I might do is I might not even use that as the C. I may use it as a D. And with the D, things I want to pay attention to is the way that that P worked, where the top was more rounded off like that. And I feel like that works more like a D, the way that shape is. And I'm going to use the F to actually put this together instead of the E, because I feel like it. No, just kidding. Because it's just going to work out better. It's less to clean up around the edges. Just taking the easy way out all day. I'm sorry. Excitement is happening. Let's go ahead and group that. Whoa, we're already using a lot of pixels in this document. Hold on. All right. Sorry, that is work blowing me up on the phone. But I want to at least finish this one before I have to switch gears into something else entirely. All right, so for my B, I'm going to use both the R and the P because I dropped that part a little bit, which I think is going to work good for the bottom part of the B. Did I say the P? I meant the B. So
this night is done, I'll have his heart, or else I'll have his soul.
I'm going to have to move this up a little bit. So I really like the way that goes in. And then this one's going to come down a little bit.
I would have a room for my moldering friend.
And then that comes together pretty good. It feels, everything's feeling so right heavy.
You are bewitched?
But I'm gonna go ahead and group that, and then I'm just gonna
Smoking, I must know.
change that
Was it
angle a
Helene
little
who
bit.
did it to you? Helene, who must suffer death by thy enchantment?
Being enchanted, I have no way of knowing. They say the enchantment has destroyed my reason. Without reason, there is no memory.
And the A actually was suffering from the opposite problem.
Do you
It
jest
was
with me,
leaning in
brave
the other
beggar?
direction.
Again, I cannot say. I am mad, so therefore cannot tell a jest from a joust.
Same with the D.
I have much to do this night. I don't think thou art as mad as all say. Stir up thy brain, Smokin. I'll be back
All right.
to ask more of you.
This is a nice, solid looking sans serif. So it's going to be nice and heavy. Be good for adding textures and all sorts of stuff. I think this should be a pretty good font as far as if you're looking for something that's got like good versatility in its usage. Go ahead and reflect that part. And you know what? I'm going to slice that because this feels a little too wide. And I don't think it actually is. I think that is just the optics of it. I'm going to duplicate this and I want to pull it. Whoops. Because you see how that at the bottom just feels so like
Help me, for God's sake, help me.
tight in there. I want to fix that. Cut that in. We don't need it. That also helps it balance itself a little bit on how far. The bottom was way too far out with that older part there. You know what? Let's just go ahead and mush this together.
Oh, I beg you, hide me, please. Get me to a place that I may stay the night. At 12, the witches' Sabbath will occur. At dawn, they will execute the 3 witches condemned by law. Or if I may but live to see the sunrise, I shall have a whole year to prove my innocence.
Alright, so for my J, I'm going to use like probably the C. I want it to remain pretty tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate it, and I want this to be parallel with my eye. Kind of by eye, but still. We'll go ahead and make that one shape. And then cut in there.
If there's one who can handle witches and the imps that serve them, scruple the Gabriel for.
We're going to duplicate the L to get the top of the J. And it's perfect because it's a little thinner on both sides, but we will widen it up. And that's pretty good. Go ahead and group those together. Scratch the back of your head. You're doing a great job. You're a good puppy. We are going to go ahead and do an M.
No, I am not she.
Still not fully sold on how the O is going to work. But it's getting close, so should probably start thinking about that. Or you know what I could do? I could just skip it all together. Ooh, I have an interesting idea. What about for the M? I take the H and the A. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? I'm going to cut the A down the middle and delete the center of the H. I'm going to leave this angled because I feel like I don't know. But I'm leaving it angled. I feel like it'll just work better that way. I don't even know what I'm talking about now. That's a pretty big M. I feel like the center of it should chop down a little bit, but I also want to do that in the V. Group. Our W, we're going to be constructing from the V and the N. That's a pretty good angle-wise. You'll notice the height of that versus that is way off. So I want to bring that over a little bit. And then I'm probably going to delete this second one because it's just kind of in the way at this point. And then I will just look at these and just cover that up. Get them even. Go ahead and group that. I think for the X, we are going to do the K trick. This is where you can really see that the K is much more off than it should be. Ah. And I'm gonna cut there. I want this to be a little more, and I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Just because I want that angle to be a little bit better. In doing that, I'm going to widen that part and thin out this part, which is also going to mean that the bottom one needs a bit more of an angle because it's got to be kind of the same size as that, but now we're going to do our Illusiono 13 ghost move over here. And just kind of thinking and watching what it's doing. I don't want them that far off. I think that actually looks pretty good. It's weird that the weight of the crossbar, the weight of it feels weird to me. It feels like it should be more mono width than having one stroke be slightly thicker than the other. But I'm going to go ahead and combine it, and then I'm going to clean it up. This is going to be one of those where we're going to have to make it look a little less like the duplicate of it itself that it is. In doing so, I think I will widen this right side up a little bit. So just gonna wiggle that, change the bottom up quite a bit, and this is where we're just adding a little bit of that volume. And that is pretty good. It's got a weird sway to it that I kind of like. It's an interesting movement. Like a almost curvature going on. We'll go ahead and duplicate that and then just cut that there, and delete this. Our T is coming over, but we're gonna cut the top off of it, off with its head. And then the way these are coming off on the side, that's going to get pulled right into being even with the T. And that gives it a totally different feel than the X. It doesn't look like it was borrowed from the same or cut from the same. or the same. I mean, it does if you look at it really close, but nobody's doing that. Just kidding. People will do that. But that's a good look for that. Let's come back to this M for a minute. I do want that cut, but I think what I want to do is widen these.
My mother bore a female child, and she did grow aged and deformed. And on another day, she cheated Satan, learned his tricks, and yet
Going one to the left.
I am thy match, witch, but I am
I think that is kind of what I'm thinking. So we'll delete that bit there and cut this out. And roll over. So we've got our round characters. We're still missing our O, our Q, our U, and our Z. Let me take a look at this X. This X feels a little bit too wide now that I'm looking at it like next to this N. That's kind of where we actually want the X to live. But when I do that, it gets really thin. So what I'm going to do is make it even more thin in.
No longer am I afraid.
It's still night, Elaine. The one deadly night. Where's Meg?
And then we just have to fix the tops of these a little bit, just a tiny bit, just for variation's sake.
She's the one sent me here to find you.
Because especially with that big drip, there's two of them now, but there only needs to be one. So still a little wonky and interesting. Maybe less interesting. Looks even less like it came from the... Actually, looks a little more like it came from the Y. Oh. Nope. This...
So we shall. Elaine lives but a few more hours. Then Pendragon is mine.
I'll take that challenge. I'll do this. Pendragon shall be free of thee forever. And what's more, the maid condemned shall live beyond
E.
and live to see thee.
Actually, I think that G might have some clues as to how we want to construct the...
I'll vanquish thee. No, do it in my sleep.
Sleep not while I'm awake.
The O.
Thy sleep is coming. In the sulphurous pit.
We're going to widen that a little bit. I know it's shorter with the E, but the Z I feel like is a more dominant, prominent character, which in the sense that it's going to be starting words and stuff, so it needs to be a little bit wider than the E, which as condensed as that is can kind of hide. Words also start with E. I just... And that's still pretty condensed. Alright, so what I was saying about the G here, that we can borrow a bit out of the G's book and the D's book. And I believe they're both kind of constructed out of each other. But what I want to do is I want to delete that piece, and I want to delete this piece. And let them kind of run into each other. See how that works? This one will cut down a little bit. This one will cut down over here. Same thing on the other side. Cut that in. And that one. And then you see how it gets that kind of like flat, the kind of weird angles that are also occurring in both the P and the R. are now also occurring in the O. And then I just want to make it a little bit bigger, get a little bit of overshoot to keep it looking nice and natural next to the other letters. That's probably a little too much. Just a little bit.
Hide in my room, Elaine, and try to rest. I must find smoke. If I'm not back within the hour, get thee to make mods and
I'm going to group that whole thing together. And I'm going to grab the H and delete that. I want those to be together. And I'm going to go ahead and cut that up the middle and size it in, because now we are dealing with the H and also, or we're dealing with the U. I'm also going to go shrink it a little short. I don't know if you were paying attention there. But also because I did that, I'm going to duplicate it from the bottom. This piece, I'm just going to hit V and hold Option and drag it up with my finger on Shift and go in a little bit. And that just gives the weight of the bottom a little more even with that on the sides. Like I said earlier, like I'm trying to keep this a little more of a single width or mono width. I think that also kind of lends to like a classic horror kind of theme.
Quintus, there's a bruise on her forearm. It wasn't there before.
And the regression is physical as well as mental.
All right. See if we can cue it up.
No, not for years.
What are you talking about?
I'm going to cut that there.
According to certain priests,
And it's going to come down and out a little bit.
follow her. Yes.
Never mind. Check her over. I meet thee everywhere.
I thought you would be tearing down the tower wall.
No need. Elaine is free.
That's good. That's a good cue. It's just like a little horseshoe on the side there. I'm going to add a little bit of variation with that piece just to separate it from the O a bit.
Nay, it cannot be. I've but left in my room.
'Tis true. Look in the glass.
And that is our alphabet. Not too shabby. So that's about 33 minutes. The Horror of Frankenstein. The C, I think, needs a little bit more overshoot on the bottom. The D feels a little wide, but I feel like it works. The G also feels a little wide. Some of these characters feel a little wide, but I feel like it might work for this typeface. I think I also might be able to fix the G a little bit. I'm going to cut it there and there. And it just needs to, this piece just, whoops. That piece just needs to come in a little bit, and that'll save the G.
Where is she?
Make more? She's gone some time.
Not the hag, I think Elaine.
Lane, the witch? She'll never get tired of charms
And give it a
of
little rotate just a tiny bit. I don't know. Alright, I think that looks a lot better. I am going to trim this O part out.
take care of thee. No one can say
G, H, I, J. The K looks nice. The K has that weird bend in, and that's kind of what doomed us originally in the X. The M, this center part feels a little too wide, so I'm going to cut it right in the middle. Mainly because it goes down too low. Not that it was like, I guess it was also too wide on the bottom. I want it to be kind of evenly spaced with that. There's also 3 holes. Benefits here from my type lettering course a couple weeks ago, talking about balance in the negative space. The balance in the negative space in that M is terrible, but I feel like it still kind of works. One other thing I could do is I could like select that and rotate that in a little bit. Same over here. I feel like that kind of balances out that center area a little bit. They're still not even, but I feel like making them even would make the N appear a little too small. I think this big gap of space works with things like the L and other characters that it could end up next to. OPQRS. Yeah, it's a good looking piece of Frankenstein right there. Alright, so we'll do numbers and a little bit of punctuation. I'll be right back. Alright, and we're back. This is going to be, could be kind of an interesting one to go with the numbers, mainly because some of the letters are really wide and some are a lot more condensed. So there's a couple interesting things kind of happening in here. I want that to be a little taller and that to go in a little bit. And I also want this one center to go in a little bit because I still want it to have that width that we all know and love in the last, 40 minutes that we've been since we kind of discovered what some of these characters would look like. Alright, let's move that O down a little bit. I'm going to, instead of askew, I'm going to tilt it. Speaking of askew, you ever Google askew? Like literally in Google, it gives you a web page that is askew.
They call me leper and unclean, and banish me to forest and swamp. Sign leper, and be clean.
I have terrible spelling and I use Google as a spell check. And that is how I know that. Alright, so...
We shall go to him now and soon complete the business.
I doubt I can do it.
Would you save Helene?
I'm actually going to rotate that, which is going to give it more of a parallel alignment on the left side and also bring it more into the base of that E. It just makes that 2 feel a little more natural than the tilt that it had on it. Well, well, well. What do 3 have here? I think I want the bottom to dip a bit.
Here is Pendragon, long beloved of Helene, who waits in the Tower of Death and must lose her head at dawn.
Like that. The center, I'm just going to kind of try and mimic some of the stuff that was happening with the E earlier. Not too crazy. And this, I'm going to do like I did earlier with the G and pull it out a little bit. And in a little bit there. And that is how I want that 3 to look. I think I also want to pull it down a little bit. And now it's kind of an overpowering character, especially with that drop. But I think that's an interesting nod to like old style lettering without adding a set for old style lettering, because I don't know.
Life and all beyond. Sign for all eternity. Else the woman remains encaged.
What's the use of this talk? I'll sign.
If you want me to make old style lettering, go make your own. So the left side here, this is already pretty parallel, which is nice. I'm going to go ahead and cut that there and pull it up a bit. And that just rolls right in. This one I'm going to keep a little smaller, and that's got to get cut. Now, it still feels a little thick, so I think I want to take away from the top. Yeah, that's where that wants to be trimmed. And we'll go ahead and group that. See how that 5 is super condensed compared to like the 4 and obviously the 3, which is taking over the world berry. That's just kind of par for the course there. The way I was talking earlier about how interesting it was going to be because my letter forms are so drastic in their widths, I guess is going to be the best word. Like the 6, I feel like probably should be a bit more condensed, especially next to a 7 like this. I'm going to slim that down.
Does that creature belong to you?
He is my imp. We witches each have one.
The 6 just feels extremely wide. It's reminiscent of the G. Remember that? So I think what we're going to do is we're going to go in with the 6, but we're still going to keep that back part of it. I feel like that actually helped it out quite a bit. Just that little insert there. That 7 just needs to extend just a little bit. The 8 I'm going to come back to because that looks like a total pain in the ass. That's a problem for 2 minutes from now, Nick. So this I definitely want to join the edges. And I know sometimes I always talk about like, oh, what's destructive, and I don't know. People always tell me you're not supposed to be destructive, but I feel like there's a time and place for it, and this is that time. All right, 8. Do your worst. I feel like
What is this? This talisman contains the Undead.
Keeps it prisoner.
obviously that's not very good practice, but gotta trim up both the sides. I feel like this is gonna do better upside down, if that makes sense. Like, I'm working on it upside down right now, and I feel like that's actually the way this 8 wants to be. So we'll go ahead and rotate that. I should have asked Ken Barber about numbers. think I've talked about that before, how like numbers, I always feel like I have a problem drawing numbers. That's not too bad though. This area of the 6 is pinched a little too tight right here, so this needs to like just come in not that far, maybe in a little bit over there. That feels much better. This 3, the top is a little too wide, and this piece is a little too thin. Just needs one more scoop. And move that a little bit. I feel like that feels a lot more balanced. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Like I said, I'm just going to do a little bit of punctuation. I'm not going to go into my favorite part or into the asset and all that stuff. I'm going to jump right to our normal punctuation segment that we normally do. And there's 2 reasons for this. For one, like I said earlier, I'm trying to get a couple, at least 2, done today to save me some time later in the week. And the other reason is that this is one of the ones that when I get to it, I'm always like, ugh. So if I do it first, it'll already be done. See what I did there? And yes, that will affect the order of operations for my whole this importer works in my script that renames my layers. But that's all right, because I'm still going to do all of the characters that are involved with this portion, and then I can just pop it in where it needs to go. It'll just get in where it fits in. Go ahead and group that. You'll notice, though, there is one weird thing. Because I'm doing it this way, I don't have a bullet point.
So you are right. Life is her death, and death is her life. Horrible.
So,
Choice.
It's a choice only she can make.
She is too young and innocent to make so cruel.
what should we do?
You are the beast who has caused it all. You must
What if we just take an O,
You want me to end the trance? That would save a little
group that,
Diana would die and disappear completely from the earth.
make it into a circle, and just shrink it down a little bit, probably a little more than that.
But I can't help being fascinated. Whichever way it goes.
So when we're skipping that portion before that, make a mental note
I don't much care.
to use an E. I don't think I actually do that very often, but now, because I've said that I don't do that very often, I'm going to start doing it more often. Remember, we want to reflect the S for our question marks. Very important that you do not draw question marks in the wrong direction. Unfortunately, I wonder if you did, you know how if you type lorem ipsum in a Google search, you essentially find a bunch of websites that are under construction. I wonder if you could type a backwards question mark into a Google search, if you would come across a bunch of images of fonts that have it backwards. But I don't think people put a lot of images of fonts online anymore since, was it CSS3 or whatever, where you could add fonts onto web pages. People don't make those images like they used to. Yeah. So that's pretty good. How much time do we got left on the timer? A little less than 10 minutes. So what's something we can do quick? Let's just do our little intro portion. And then that means when I go into this later, I can do my favorite part. We do need the 5 for this. See, there's so much that's like, oh, yeah.
Diabolism has its stamp upon thy heart and soul, Helene, and you are doomed to feel its tearing pangs. You were entranced. This is your choice. Death now, life after.
This is...
Life now.
Whoops.
Death ever after.
Nay, it cannot be.
I saw that, but I thought I could come back to it. It had unclosed its whole corner.
We'll find a final life.
Go. Meet the axe. You'll have 100 lives to live.
Quintus and I do bid thee stay.
Oh, so the new glyphs looks like it's going to be more of a
With gay confusion. Would I?
vector art program and less of a, well, not less of a type design program, but I guess like in addition to. So that should be pretty interesting.
What form of woman is she?
I
And devoid of virtue. A wanton woman of the streets.
wonder if I saw a bunch of people in the comments talking about like, what if it goes to a subscription model, blah blah blah. That would be terrible. And you know what? Maybe, but maybe then I'd have to start making fonts that are more marketable. Or start a Patreon or something.
Understand one thing. If I die at my appointed time this dawn, then I shall live again and again throughout uncounted ages. But if I live this lifetime now, those future lives can never be. Here I have my
And all 6 of you could join it.
my love with all my being.
I don't even know what I would make it worth.
Help. But it can come
I
to
don't
none of these.
really
Find that I am one and yet
know much about that reoccurring payment.
these shall be the judgment.
Part of the reason I never got into setting one up was because I just don't like that model for pricing, but everything is that way now. So well, I guess not everything, but like television, that whole portion of entertainment. I miss being able to buy DVDs of television shows. You can find them every once in a while, like Walmart or whatever, but it's not the same. Because it's like, you get the whole series at once. Which, in a way, kind of makes it worth less, you know? Not just like, oh, they should charge less, but like, it makes it worth less. It's not as fun an experience to... It's like, now I have all this, I can watch it whenever I want. And then I don't watch it. I'll do the same thing with like magazines, you know, like I always buy like, oh, I got a bunch of this. So like, yeah, like the other day I'd purchased a bunch of movie press books. Whoops. And yeah, the instant collection instantly made the collection less interesting. That being said, I'm going to use them to make typefaces, but it also kind of looks like a giant pile in my inbox. like, oh crap, I gotta do all this work now. But
That putrid love is what murdered her. Die,
I almost did a boo-boo. I did taw putty tat. Much better. That was a very tricky angle. I don't know if it was just the way I set it up originally to deal with, or what the deal was with that, but it was tricky. Let's see if this will give us 3. Looks like they're trying to execute the witches. Oh, yep. That was the executioner's block banging. This I want grouped. That's gonna get close, get close. All right, well, I think that's pretty good. We're at 56 minutes. We've got our punctuation set up, ready to go, about ready to get into my favorite part. We're still going to have to do the fractions, and then everything after there is cake. I'd say there's probably like 20 more minutes left before this is essentially done with the first phase of letters. There will also be a couple other things that we're going to run into, like now that that @ symbol looks dead wrong. But I have some ideas for @ symbols. I've been looking at the way they're treated in some other typefaces, and I have some interesting ideas for alternates. So check that out next week or in a couple weeks when this one comes out. Anyway, this is Nick from Remedy667.com. And you just watched the Horror of Frankenstein while you were watching the Undead, or listening to, because the screen isn't that good. I'll do a better job next time. And until then, I will see you next week. Check out Remedy667.com and take a look at this font and a lot of other ones that we got going. We've been keeping Horror Font Friday, the dream, alive, and we've got a lot more stuff on the horizon. So, yeah. See you next week. Have a sweet dreams and a good weekend.